for having me. Okay, so I'm gonna share screen now. And then just let me know if you guys can see it. All right, so hi everyone, my name is Brianne. I wanted to first introduce myself with a picture of my family because um, family plays they played a huge role in my life. And one of the first questions I got was where I come from. And so my mom was actually she lived here in Pittsburgh. She grew up here. The house I'm living in is actually her childhood home. And my dad immigrated from the Manila, Philippines when he was, I think, 7. And he grew up in Vallejo. And because of his job, we get to move around a lot. The years when I went to high school, I moved every year of high school. So, like, I went to school in Japan. I grew up there. I spent 6 years of my life there. We were there from the age of 5 to like 12. We were there for a really long time. And then in high school, I went to a school in Virginia. I went to school here in California and in Germany. So it's really cool having those experiences as a high school student when no one else can really have those experiences. I'm very privileged. And it's really cool moving around because you get to experience so many different things that you might not know play such a huge impact on your life. So I thank my family for all those experiences. And it's really cool because my brother actually, my parents moved to the Middle East and he got to go to an international British school. And that was in Qatar. And I don't know if you guys are soccer fans, but that's where they're having the next World Cup. And so he got to do a lot of helping the FIFA organization with building stadiums and all kinds of other stuff that they do. And it was really cool because they were the first ones to see the stadiums as well. So that segues into my next slide, which is my major and why I chose that career choice. So my dad, the reason why we get to move around so much is because he works as a civil engineer for the Department of Defense. And growing up, he would always come home and tell me all these projects he had. Like one of my favorite ones was he built a bowling alley at our base, and it was just at the time because it was new, it was like the coolest spot to hang out. And I would be like, oh yeah, my dad built that. Or one day in Germany when I was in high school, he came home and he told me that he built and designed a parking lot that actually collects rainwater and then filters it out, and then it's safe to go into the waterways. So as you can tell, I became a civil engineering major. I go to San Jose State, and this is my senior year. So it's very exciting. The reason why I chose this area of science was mostly my dad, and then we would vacation here in California quite often because this is where my family is from. And my mom had taken us, I think I was very young. I was like 5 years old. She had taken us to the California Academy of Sciences. And you guys are probably too young to know, but before it looked like it does now with all the renewable energy put into the building and the living roof, it was just a plain building with all kinds of animals stuffed into glass boxes. I remember thinking like, wow, like that was fun, but it's kind of sad seeing like living things live like that in just this box building and these box glass display cases. And then I, went on with my life. 10 years later, though, when I was, I think, a freshman in high school, my mom brought us back to the California Academy of Sciences. And if you guys haven't been, I highly suggest you go. It's just an amazing facility. They do a lot of research there as well, and a lot of educational programs and volunteer opportunities. So I went there and I saw how it is today, and it blew my mind. I always knew I wanted to do civil engineering just because it was something that challenges me. I feel like if I pick something different from engineering, it wouldn't be as fulfilling to me because I really encourage a challenge. Like, I want to do new things, I want to learn more all the time. So seeing that when I was in high school and seeing how two areas of disciplines came together and meshed and formed this beautiful building, I was like, I'm sold. Because I always had this special connection with the environment. Growing up in Japan really solidified that. And so I was like, wow, this is so eye-opening. And this is the first time I've ever seen two things mesh so well together. And that's when I knew I wanted to become a civil engineer. So my major is civil engineering, but my focus, my interest is environmental engineering. So it does deal with stuff like this, especially the California Academy of Sciences. I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but there is a bubble inside the Cal Academy, and they have all their tropical plants. The butterflies are in there. They have freshwater fish that live there too. And just seeing species living in a man-made bubble that caters to their conditions was really cool. I was like, this is what I want to do. So that's the origin story of how I decided to choose civil engineering. And my first really big internship when I went to Los Medanos College was working as an intern for the engineering department at the city of Pittsburgh. So on the picture on the left is what I think it's in front of the eBart Pittsburgh station. So what's really cool about that project was I got to design and build things in components with what was there before. I don't know if you guys use it, but on the left side of the parking lot, there's a bioretention basin. It's basically this big hole with like different California native grasses and plants. What's really cool is when we do get rain here in California, all the rain washes the pollutants and the oil from our cars down into the storm drain and then just gets delivered to the delta. And that's not particularly good because we get most of our water, including not just us, but the rest of California gets most of their fresh water from the delta. And so having a healthy waterway system is pertinent to our survival in agriculture and also, drinking water to live. So the bioretention basin is really cool because coupled with the plants that are in there, the rainwater gets captured. It actually gets captured and moved into that bioretention basin. And the plants and the soil and the rocks, the gravel, filter out all the pollutants, and then the water becomes safe to go back into the delta. So that was one of the ways as an intern where I got to incorporate two things that I love together. So one of the questions is what kind of student I was in K through 12, what was getting into college like, what college did I go to, and am I still in college? So yes, I'm still in college. As crazy as it sounds, I'm a little embarrassed, but I graduated high school in 2013, and I've been in college since then. That happens to people. It's not just a cutthroat 4-year and you're done. A lot of things have happened since then. Besides my accolades, my honors, my achievements, and the jobs that I've worked, there were a lot more other things happening in those 7 years that had to push back, my education just a little bit, get restructured. So when I thought about these questions, I wanted to talk about not only what people see versus what people don't see, but also the graphic of success, right? At the top of the mountain, you have your achievement. And then on the bottom, it's like different steps on how to achieve that goal. Well, sometimes people don't tell you that life isn't just one mountain you have to cross, right? You'll probably have multiple goals in life, multiple things you want to achieve. And so life isn't linear, it's a series of mountains. So when you cross one mountain, when you conquer that one, you're probably going to have to go through 10 more different mountains. And that's what I went through for the past like 7 years. So I went to high school in Fairfield. I went to Armijo High School, and they had an international baccalaureate program. And that's what I did all 4 years of high school, was going through that IB program. When I graduated high school, I got accepted to 2 schools, Sacramento State and UC Davis, and I chose Sac State. And then my parents moved and my brother moved, and I was left alone here, and I had the responsibility to take care of my grandmother. And so I had to drop out or transfer schools from Sac State to Los Medanos College, and that's where I went. And I had such a horrible, horrible view on community colleges, which thank God now it's totally changed my mind. If you are thinking about going to community college, you should. I highly suggest it. I went in thinking like, oh, I did all this work in high school, all those long nights, like not getting to do fun things, and now I'm at community college. But community college made me who I am today. It's the reason why I have all these things. It's the reason why I have all these accomplishments. When I was a student in K through 12, I wasn't a very strong math person. I didn't like math. I really, to be honest, I just scraped by all the time with math. And it wasn't until I met a professor at LMC, who was also the honors program coordinator, who made me fall in love with math. And although I do struggle still now, like the feeling you get of like understanding something and then applying it to real life means a lot to me. And so I just wanted to tell you guys that it's not a simple, like college is not a simple thing, because life is not a simple thing. I'm sure high school, I mean, for you guys, is not a simple thing, what we're going through now. And LMC was where I like thrived. When I got there, I took every opportunity. I took advantage of every program, every internship they threw at me, every opportunity, like scholarship stuff. I took all of it. And so I just wanted to tell you that it's not just a simple thing. Like, you can change your major anytime you want. Life happens. Don't sell yourself short. I mean, even now, because I'm kind of like an older like undergrad, I still have people kind of telling me like, hey, that's kind of weird that you're older. And I was like, I would get kind of like offended or hurt because they would say stuff like that. But I would just think, the experiences I have weighs heavier than, my age. Like, I know that I could do all these things. I got here because of what my skill level is, because of how motivated I am, not because of my age. Like, it doesn't matter whether you start late, you start early, you finish early, you start later. As long as I, achieve what I'm setting out to achieve, it doesn't matter. So that's a little motivational speech. inputted into this presentation. So going back to LMC, I was a civil engineering major and I hit a rut. I think it was like my second year at LMC, I just didn't feel like I was doing enough. And then my first big break happened. I was part of the MESA program at LMC. They also have MESA programs at other universities and other community colleges, but it stands for Math, Engineering, Science Achievement Program. And the bulletin board had one lone flyer, and I had seen that flyer multiple times, but I stopped this one day and I took a look. And it was amazing. It was like, you do this module, you complete this project for them, and if they liked your project, they would send you to a research facility or space center completely for free. And I was like, oh, like that sounds so fun. And it's free because I'm a broke college student. I'm going to try it out. So I designed a rover. They liked it. They sent me to NASA Ames. And this is where I met, in the picture to the left, was my group. And this program was called the NASA Community College Aerospace Scholars Program. And so these are all, this program is specifically for community college students all over the US. And I said, why not? You know, it was like less competition, but also something cool to do. What's really awesome about this program is when they group you up, they also give you a mentor. And that was Ali for me on the right side. And she was just an inspirational person to me. Her story that she told us was eye-opening. When you see someone inspirational, you hear their story, you're like, man, I could do way better. I could do more because look what they went through. And I don't come close to any of those struggles, right? And it was a good way to get into a different field that I originally was studying for. So this is aerospace engineering. You could be any STEM major. You didn't even have to be a STEM major to be in this program. But a lot of the people in my team also kind of became mentors for me. Andrea, who's in the red, she went to San Jose State, I think a semester before me. And so she helped me with my classes and like who to take. And then she got this prestigious NSF funded graduate scholarship, and she goes to Stanford now. But every opportunity she comes across, she always emails me. She's like, hey, check this out if you're interested. I highly suggest you apply. So it's really cool having those connections and then building upon each other. This happened like 2-3 years ago, and we're still pretty much in contact with each other. So that was one summer. The next summer, I spent back at NASA Ames. I actually lived there for the whole summer. And this was through a program called REU. It represents research experiences for undergrads. I was still at LMC, so as a community college student. I think we had 8 in our cohort, and I was one of 2 community college students. The other girl who was in the cohort, who was a community college student, went to DVC. And we got to work at SETI. Each one of us had different projects, and my project happened to be on Mars. So in the picture on the right, in the middle, that's astronaut Jack Schmidt, and he was on one of the Apollo missions working as a geologist. And I got to interview him and talk to him because my mentor, who's on the far right, his name is Pascal Lee. He, not only is he a badass scientist, but he does a lot for his community. He made like this really cute Mars book and for children. And so doing that stuff and then the interview is for educational purposes that he does by himself. Anyway, so my project was Noctis Landing, and he proposed the idea. Noctis Landing is a proposed landing site, and human exploration zone on Mars for the 2030 human missions. So the purpose for this project was to figure out, where does NASA want to send their astronauts on Mars? I think there are 47 other proposed sites, but this was ours. What's really cool is that NASA wants to have sort of a permanent base on Mars when the missions do happen. And this is just us and other scientists trying to convince them, no, pick our site because it's better. What's cool about Noctis Landing is that it's got all of these crevices, valleys, and channels. And then you won't see it on this slide, but on the next slide, I think I have it, but this landing site is the closest to the 4 volcanoes on Mars. So I spent the whole summer looking at Google Mars, looking at high-rise images, doing GIS, and mapping out traverses to scientific areas of interest and resource areas of interest. So obviously when they send the astronauts out to Mars, they want to have a way of letting them live there for a long time. So resources are extremely important. And of course, they're there for work, so they're going to do some research out there. So finding these areas and then navigating how rovers or how the astronauts can walk there was my job. What was really cool about this site was, because of all the channels and valleys and canyons, it happens so that Mars has reoccurring fog in these channels and nowhere else on the planet. And an intern that Pascal had previous to me had developed a technology to harness that fog and turn it to fresh water for the astronauts. So that was really cool, just having that technology, or that proposed technology, to implement onto me creating these traverses on Mars was very helpful, because it's very difficult to find water on Mars. Like, I'm not there. You have to look through pictures and then analyze the pictures. And in this area was like completely dry. Like, you could not find water, you could not find ice. So it was really cool knowing that even though there's no physical ice, physical water, there was a form of water there to be had. And so I looked at all these pictures and I found deposits and then interesting volcanoes or lava tubes that would be of interest to the astronauts, because they think that, getting to a little bit more science, they think that Mars doesn't have tectonic plates like the Earth does. It's one big plate. But there are speculations that there's still volcanism, there's still geothermal processes going on because of all of the volcanoes on Mars. So that's another area to be explored. And hopefully when they do pick a site, it's ours. And so after the internship was over, it was really cool because a lot of the internship programs will fund their students to go to research conferences. So for the NASA and SETI Institute program, I got to go to Texas and I got to present my my research there. And it was pretty cool because it kind of showed how small the world was, because I met up with a friend who I used to go to elementary school with. And it was just interesting, like seeing him and us doing the same thing. So you never know who you're gonna meet. And it's kind of crazy. I haven't really experienced it with other areas that I've kind of, delved into, but especially with astronomy and physics, I met so many people who were ridiculously famous and I had no idea who they were. When we got to the SETI Institute, we had to do pictures, like headshots. And I thought the guy who was taking the pictures was just like a regular photographer. And then we went home because we all lived together on NASA, and I was like, yeah, that old guy was like really nice. Like he was so funny. And one of the girls was like, that is not just an old man. It's like, who is he? She's like, he's famous. You don't know him? And I was like, no, I have no idea who he is. So it was just interesting, like meeting all these famous people, and they it just goes to show that you should always be kind to people because you never know who you're gonna meet. Anyway, then the next summer, I this was like one of my first success stories. I applied to this Noah Ernest F. Halling scholarship program, and I really didn't think I was going to get in. To be honest, it was out of my realm of like expertise. I didn't know if I had a competitive GPA. I didn't feel like I had a competitive GPA, but I got the email and I got accepted to this program. So this program is open to STEM students in undergrad. And out of the 300 people in our cohort, I was, I think, the only community college student. And so if you're interested in like NOAA and what they do, and STEM, like you want to delve into different experiences, I highly suggest this scholarship for you. It's one of the reasons why I don't pay for college now at San Jose State. It's one of the reasons why I have so much experiences. So I got to go to Alaska for the summer, live with 7 other people in the middle of nowhere with bears and salmon and all kinds of things around us. And it was amazing. Like this experience was life-changing, and I didn't even think I was going to get in, but I did. It was to the point where a friend that I was going to LMC with, who was way more qualified than me, like she just had the better grades, she had, more research experience, and she didn't get it and I did. And that goes to show, like, even though you don't think you have the qualifications for a job, for an internship, for a scholarship, like if on paper you don't have it, apply anyway. Like I've got so many instances where I applied and I got it, but then I have a list 3 times as big as that of rejections that I've got. They always say, what do they say? They always say, you fail if you don't try. No, like really try, because this experience was amazing and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I didn't even think I was going to get it. So always apply. Don't sell yourself short. Just do it. And I got to do it. And so at this internship, I mapped benthic habitats. So benthic means underwater. We were staying on the Kenai Peninsula in Alaska. And in Ketchikan Bay, I got to throw down some cameras underwater and then map the different habitats underneath on the surface floor. I got to work with other graduate and undergrad research techs with identifying salmon. We did intertidal samples. We collected zooplankton off the boat. We had a bear scare once. It was pretty cool. I got to do a lot of cool things up in Alaska, and the program funds you for 2 years. They also fund you for 2 conferences that you can go to showcase your work. So on the right is a picture of my poster. I got to go back to Alaska in January after my program during the summer. And then I went to San Diego and presented my research there at a very prestigious conference. Not many people get to present there, but so that's what I did in Alaska, and it was amazing. And it wouldn't have happened if I didn't apply. And then if you could take anything out of this presentation, it would be to get out of your comfort zone. I do not like speaking. I don't like speaking to strangers. I don't like meeting new people that I don't know, that I might never see again. I am just bad. Sometimes I come off like, I don't know, I'm just bad at talking, right? But after all these experiences and going to all these conferences, I knew I had to start networking with people to get, you know, opportunities that opportunities or like scholarships where else in the world. So after my SETI internship, I decided to go to this conference in Pasadena. And it was a 3-day conference, and I only really went because they gave me a travel scholarship. They let me go for free. They paid for my flight, they paid for my hotel. But the thing about this conference was I wasn't presenting, I was just there to be there. I wasn't looking for a job, because what's really cool about conferences is sometimes big companies will interview you on the spot and then tell you if you got a job. So at this conference was like, there's a lot of people. There was NASA, there was Boeing, there was Tesla, Shell was there, a whole bunch of different people. So a lot of the other students went to get a job or an internship for the next summer. Anyway, I was just there thinking like, oh, this is cool, I'm gonna have fun. But it was 3 days. I didn't have anything to do. So I signed up for this college bowl competition. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna get myself into? The first day that we had an activity together, I'm telling, like, I'm reliving like bad memories. The way it was set up was, it was like the draft in like NBA, like an NBA draft. There's a whole bunch of people in one conference room, and then you had all of the corporations like Disney and Tesla and Boeing, and they would set a timer for like 5 minutes. All the kids rushed to the corporations to like pitch them in this idea or do something for them. Like someone asked me to sing a song about orange, and I didn't know a song about orange, so I sung The Circle of Life because I didn't know what kind of song has a song about orange. Anyway, it was horrible. I was mortified. I remember calling my best friend and being like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Anyway, I finally got picked for a team after like 2 or 3 rounds of doing this. And we ended up winning first place for the competition. And we won a lot of money. And this was, the team I was on was the Air Force Research Laboratories. They even offered us internships. And so I was like, wow, this was great. This trip was great. And I need to get out of my comfort zone to get these opportunities and to meet new people. And so that really stuck into my mind. Although it was horrible at the time, looking back at it now, I was very happy that, I got to experience something like this. It was very competitive, pretty much so. So then using that experience of like, oh, I need to network with people, connect with others, the picture on the bottom on the far left, that's Robin, and he actually graduated from Contra Costa Community College. Then he went to get his BS in civil engineering at San Francisco State. Then he went to San Jose State and got his master's in civil engineering. And then he's currently en route to his PhD in environmental policy and management at UC Berkeley. And I didn't know him personally. I knew of him. He came to LMC and he spoke to us about different internships at the Berkeley lab. And for some reason, I didn't go, but I had followed him on Instagram, and he asked if we knew people or if we wanted to do field work with him. And I said yes. And this was after Alaska. I was like, yes, let's do it. And he took us to Sonoma, and we ended up doing research on water quality for Pacific salmon. What was amazing about this fieldwork experience was that there were so many questions he had that I could fill in because I've done the fieldwork in Alaska and it was similar to his project. So even now, he still kind of contacts me about what kind of steps to take to find out a certain water quality or certain groundwater issue. So it's really cool that he kind of took me under his wing, even though we didn't really know each other, or we kind of just connected over social media. He is also a huge proponent in inspiring me. He, like Andrea, got the national funded graduate scholarship, and he told me that the first sentence of an essay of anything, your personal statement, an internship application, scholarship application, it really has to pop. And I took advantage of all of the advice he gave me, and it was a good experience. And even Rogelio that came with us, who's on the right, he was a freshman at UC Berkeley. He's a sophomore now, but he told me what his first sentence was for his application from UC Berkeley was, "I am a son of a farmer and a housekeeper." And I was like, wow, that sentence is so powerful. I know you guys are juniors. You guys should be thinking about your personal statements for college applications. Remember this, the first sentence has to pop. It has to stand out. You have to stand out because they will read thousands, hundreds of thousands of applications, and you really want yours to stand out. So just be mindful of that. Okay, so I have 3 things. If you didn't take anything from this presentation, 3 things, just please remember. Stand out. Of course, you are not going to do a TEDx talk like I did. You're not going to go to Alaska like I did. Your experiences, no matter how small, are yours. It's how they define you. And so if you, I don't know, if you're a volunteer somewhere at like a shelter, animal shelter, really hype that up in your personal statements. If you did something like shadow someone in an area that you're interested for, I don't know, like if you're interested in dentistry and you shadowed a dentist for a while, really hype that up because it shows the readers that you took initiative to do something because you're passionate about it. You want to learn more. Another point is to find something you love to do and focus on achieving it. I told you earlier that I knew I wanted to become a civil engineering major since I was like 15. Has that changed? Yes. After I did my internship at NASA, I thought, wow, I'm going to change my major to astronomy or physics. That didn't happen. After my experience in Alaska, I really wanted to do something like environmental sciences. Did I change my major? No, I'm not. I'm a senior in civil engineering and I'm almost done. I'm very close, so I'm sticking with it. But for grad school, I am very much contemplating going to grad school as an environmental science major. It's not a big deal. I know so many people who I went through undergrad with as engineering majors who quit after their first semester. They didn't quit, well, they changed their major because they found something else that they loved. I know people who did 4 years of doing engineering undergrad work and was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm changing my major. So, like I said before, life isn't linear. You're going to go up through multiple mountains. And so that could be one of your mountains. You can do whatever you want. It's your life. But also, one thing I have to stress is don't put all your eggs in one basket. My mom tells me this all the time because I'm very like narrow-minded and focused when I want to achieve something. It's a flaw sometimes. She annoys me so much when she says, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But it's true. Because when you are like, oh, my dream school is UC Berkeley, and then you don't get into UC Berkeley, or something else happens where you have to drop out of UC Berkeley, you're setting yourself up with expectations that might not come to fruition. And then you'll feel bad about yourself. I am just trying to tell you, for the past 7 years that I've been doing undergrad in civil engineering, that so many things happen in your life that are unexpected, and you kind of just need to go with the flow. Yes, find something you love to do and stick with it. But if you find something else you love even more, why not go for it? So I don't know if you guys have LinkedIn. If you have any questions, you can email me at my email or add me on LinkedIn. I have a couple of files of scholarships and internship programs that you guys might want later in your future. It's like a compilation of a whole bunch of different programs and what they require and who's eligible. So let me know. But thank you for having me and listening to me. If you have any questions and you don't want to speak on your mic, you can just send them down to the chat and I'll get to them. But thank you so much for listening to me ramble for an hour.
Do y'all have any questions?
Maybe while people are adding something to the chat box, Bree, do you want to share, are you currently working on any research or are you doing anything else? I'm sorry, Brianne.
Yeah, sorry, I should have answered it before. It was one of my questions. But so right now I'm in between gigs, but because of Robin, who I talked about doing fieldwork with him in Sonoma, I actually through him got to intern at UC Berkeley's Cannabis Research Center. So I don't know if you guys know this, but one of the reasons why cannabis became legal in California is because of regulating the environment, was a big proponent. When there are illegal, like pot farms, they contribute to deforestation, more pollution to salmon waterways and rivers, and they use way too many pesticides. So what I do with them is on GIS, it's a stands for Geographic Information Systems, is I map out areas of known or previous grow sites so that, you know, the game warden knows where these people usually illegally grow pot. It's a very terrible problem we have here in California, and there just needs to be more eyes because we lose a lot of redwoods, we lose a lot of trees to deforestation for these sites. And so it's just another way I contribute to the world. Okay, so Jessica asked, how was school during quarantine? How did you survive? And how was life around that time or now? So I'm actually still, in case you forgot, I'm actually still going to school. I love school during quarantine because I don't know if you want to see my schedule, but I got a lot going on. And so just having nothing to do and staying indoors because of the wildfires, it's very focusing here in my house. If I could go outside, like if the smoke wasn't bad, I usually garden. I garden a lot, or I do like arts and crafts. I do Muay Thai. So my garage is like my gym and I train in there. What else do you do? How is life around that time and now? What's really cool is when I'm at San Jose, I forgot to mention this, but when I was living at NASA, I go to San Jose completely for free. I go there on a full ride scholarship from like scholarships from LMC and then the NOAA scholarship. But because rent in San Jose is so expensive, I actually bought an old ambulance and I converted it into a tiny home when I was living at NASA Ames. So when I'm not here, I live here in California in the Bay Area, but when I'm not here and I'm in San Jose, I live in my van. So that is what I do. I build things and I work out and go hiking. Okay, Nakia says, she asks, what courses at LMC do you take as a civil engineering major? You take all the maths, you take all the physics, you take all the chemistry classes except for organic chem. It's a lot. That was kind of one of the reasons why it took me a little longer to get through LMC was one, I was paying for college myself. So I was working, there was one semester, I worked like 3 jobs. And then they ask a lot for you in terms of when you're getting ready to transfer from community college to university. Like I applied to Davis, Berkeley, San Diego, and San Jose, and Cal Poly, and some of those schools required more things than others. So Davis required me to do like 2 extra classes versus San Jose only had me do like 1 chem, but I ended up taking 2 chems because I was applying to Davis as well. So when you get to LMC, if you're thinking about it, make an appointment with a counselor and they'll walk you through it. It's very like, I really loved LMC because it was very straightforward. Like I knew what I needed to do and how I could achieve it. Okay, Rebecca asked, did you ever fall behind in any classes and were the teachers understanding if you didn't know how to manage your time? For LMC, it's a mix of both. So yes, because when I started my 2nd year in LMC, one of the mountains I had to climb was my grandmother who I was taking care of, she unexpectedly passed away. And at the time, school had just started. I was taking like really hard math classes. I was taking like Calc 3 and then differential equations with it, and then a physics class, and then like an English class, like a random English class. And I fell behind. And I had to drop 2 classes. I had to drop my differentials equations class, and I had to drop my physics class because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it with all these things going on in my life. And it's not, to me, wasn't helpful to me to stay in those classes if I wasn't 100% committed to being there. Unfortunately, at that semester, I couldn't be there 100%. So I had to make that pretty hard decision, and it did, you know, that's like half a year behind. So, I mean, things happen, but you know, you just have to work around it. Were teachers understanding if you didn't know how to manage your time? No. No one's ever understanding if you don't know how to manage your time. You need to manage your time. Get yourself a planner, mark all your things. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I have all my classes color coordinated, and when I get something finished, I cross it off and then I move to the next thing. I don't have breaks. You guys might not be doing engineering, but you know, you got to keep on top of your stuff, especially in college, because no one's going to hold your hand. You're the only one. Melissa says, how is school like in LMC? I love LMC. LMC was amazing. I was part of the MESA program and the honors program, and they do a lot of social events. They have a lot of guest speakers that come. So because the college is smaller, the community was really tight-knit, and I really enjoyed that. It's something I don't have at San Jose, unfortunately, but a lot of the faculty, the professors, the students, they've helped me so much past my time being at LMC. But it's very straightforward. Of course, it's not as hard as San Jose, but you know, as you build upon your education, classes and things will get harder. So that shouldn't be an issue. Amvir said, can you go in more depth about the LinkedIn app? So LinkedIn is a professional platform. It's like Facebook, but it's all jobs and academics, and like you can list your clubs, your extracurriculars, your volunteer experiences, your honors and accolades. It's for again, like I said, professional career, like work field growth, because a lot of people use LinkedIn to find jobs, and a lot of other people look at LinkedIn to recruit people. So I've gotten a couple of messages about people wanting to recruit me for certain things, and that's how, you know, opportunities come about. It's also very cool because, say if you want to work at the East Bay Regional Parks District, you can look up people who work at the East Bay Regional Parks District or have previously worked there and ask about their experiences, and if you can have like a moment of their time to go over some questions that you have. It's a really cool platform. Okay, Santa says, what were your biggest challenges during college and now? Biggest challenges were time management. Like that's a big thing because it's a lot of stuff that I have to do. And then the professors like to scare you. You think they're joking, but they're kind of not joking. When you first go into your first class and they go over the syllabus, they always say, this is a 3-unit class. And for each unit, you have to spend 3 hours on that unit. And I'm like, are you kidding? That's 9 hours for this one class per week. How else am I supposed to, where am I going to find the time? So it's also time management, but also figuring out how effectively you can study. So for me, I love repetition. I have to sit here for 2 hours and go over problems over and over and over again until I find a pattern that makes sense to me. So if you're not like that, you need to find your study habit that's effective for you. So that's a big challenge. Now I don't have that challenge because I'm not doing anything. So nothing else better to do than to do my schoolwork. Okay, Lauren says, how is campus life, such as clubs, classes, etc.? So unfortunately, I'm not part of any clubs, just because my major takes up a lot of my time, but I am part of my civil engineering society. So if you're part of that society, you get to know about opportunities in the professional field and scholarships and all kinds of that other good stuff. And your college that you go to, so you go to university and then they're split up into colleges. So I am part of the College of Engineering. They are very good at advertising opportunities and job, career fairs, all kinds of that stuff. And there are a lot of clubs. I just personally, for me, I don't have the time to be going to clubs. And also you have to think about that they do ask you to pay a membership fee. Campus life is pretty awesome because San Jose got a new gym like 2 semesters ago. So when I'm not in class, I'm in the gym. It's a really nice place. So take advantage. I mean, you guys are gonna pay for it, so take advantage. And they have all these kinds of classes there too. Oh, and we have like a rock climbing wall and a bouldering wall. It's really, really nice. Classes, when I went to San Jose, I only had one big class with like 300 students. And that's because it was differential equations. It's a class that most people need to take. But the professor was really good about lecturing and getting us the slides and stuff like that. So the size didn't really discourage me. My regular like civil engineering classes are pretty small. They're like 30 to 40 people. And that's the same size you'll get at like LMC too. Okay, Alexa says, what was living in Japan like and how did it solidify your love for the environment? I'm also curious if you learned any different languages while moving around in your life. So I'm gonna answer the second question first. Yeah, because I went to elementary school in Japan, we had like culture classes and we learned Japanese. I unfortunately don't know that much anymore. I used to be fluent, but when I moved back to the States, I didn't have anyone to speak to. So I lost it. But I'm sure if I go back and like live there for a couple days, it'll catch on. I do know French. I took French as a IB language when I was in high school. And I don't know if you guys know about IB, but it's an international baccalaureate high school program, and they make you do like really strenuous stuff. So I did French, and to get the IB diploma that's different from your high school diploma, you have to like talk for 20 minutes to your teacher in French the whole time. It was it was really grueling. And then so I know French, I know German because I lived in Germany, and that's it. Those are the only like three. Oh, and I took a Korean class when I went to Sac State. So yeah, those are some of the languages I know. Um, Living in Japan was amazing. I loved Japan so much, so much. There's so many things to do. The people were so nice, and it solidified my love for the environment because the Shinto religion they practice, they believe everything man-made and living have spirits. So I remember they were doing construction on base, and there was this tall tree, and the construction workers uprooted the tree and then planted it somewhere else so it could still like live. Versus here in the US, you might see a tree that someone cuts down and then it's like shredded bark for someone. But it was just interesting to know that they care, like they know the importance of the environment and how to keep it healthy because they live on an island. Like they don't have enough land to be farming willy-nilly. They have to be smart about that kind of stuff. Okay. One of the questions says, did you have any other interests in mind besides a civil engineer, or did you always know what you wanted to do? So I really knew that I wanted to do civil engineering because it was challenging. It's an area that not many women are in, especially women of color. And I was like, oh, I'll take that challenge. Also, I when you go to college and you do like GE, like general ed courses, you'll realize like, ooh, sociology is not for me, or global studies has too many papers I have to write. Definitely not for me. Um, you'll think about this like philosophy class and think it's too easy. So for me, I was going through like, oh, this class is definitely not for me. I'm not going to go through that major. I always went back to civil engineering because it gives me like such a hard, rigorous challenge. And I'm like, I need to figure out, I need to solve this problem. So that's just me personally. But yes, after I get my bachelor's in civil engineering, I'm probably going to change my focus when I go to grad school. So like I said, I was going to do environmental studies. What are the requirements to get into your junior college? Did you have other choices in mind for joining another junior college? So I lucked out. Like I didn't even know about LMC. I just knew it was a community college and it's the closest one to me. And I was like, fine, I'll just go there. But ranked, I think, in the Contra Costa district, I think LMC is up there, especially in STEM classes. Um, I just, and also the facilities they gave you, like I took some classes at DVC and I didn't feel like I was getting like the same like community aspect as I would at LMC, or it was just different. For me, DVC was a little bit more cutthroat, whereas LMC was cutthroat, but like people were nice to each other about it. Like we would help each other study. Whereas at DVC, I felt like I'm competing with all these other people that are way smarter than me, and they don't have the time to like help me out. But that might be a different experience for you if you're suggesting DVC. DVC is also a very good school for certain things. Like they have a really good music and production program, and they have a really great physics program. So if you guys are interested in that, and also since they're sister schools, even with Contra Costa, you can take classes there and see for yourself. There weren't many requirements for junior college. Because I had already gone to Sac State, I just needed to make sure that all of my stuff was transferable. They do make you take, like even when I transferred to San Jose, they make you take like a general writing test that's very easy. Samantha says, when you stayed at NASA for the summer, what was the facility like? Did you get to use the research materials for projects like your Mars project? So staying at NASA was awesome. They converted this old McDonald's that they had there into a 7-Eleven, and we would call it McMoon's. But that was like its like nickname. Anyway, it was great. That place was amazing because they also had a speaker series during the summer. So they would have different scientists come and showcase their research to us. Did I get to use research materials? I didn't work at NASA Ames that summer. We would have to bike to our SETI Institute. So it was like an office space. We would have to bike like 2 miles every day. But one of my friends did work at the lab, the biolab at NASA Ames, and she let me, because we had, you need ID cards and all that kind of good stuff. But I got to go with her and help her with some experiments just because I had the free time. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they had at NASA Ames that we definitely took advantage of. Did anyone have any other questions that maybe you guys didn't put in the chat, or anything you want me to elaborate on? You have a beautiful voice.
I have like an unrelated question to like your college and stuff, but what part is your family from in the Philippines?
Oh, so my dad was born in Manila, but they're Ilocano and Pangasinan. It's weird because my last name is Visaya, but we're not from Visaya. So there's that. It's confusing, I know. Any other questions?
Do you mind telling us, well, you mentioned how you're older for being an undergrad. Would you mind telling us how old you are?
Oh, yes, I am, do some simple math. I'm 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering last period, and yeah. Okay, thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you can end us with a piece of advice you would have for them as juniors, and then moving forward, if they decide to go to college or maybe they decide not to go to college, what would you say?
So if you decide to go to college, think about what you're going to write on your personal statements. I think you can look those up. They don't change very often. But what I like to do for my personal statements, like when I applied to Stanford, I like bullet points. So there's a prompt. I just like grab out of my head things I would want to say, and then I weed out the ones that aren't as impactful in the essay. And I do that for scholarships and internship applications. And once you like start your college personal statements, it's really easy to build upon that as years go by. So I have the same essay that I used for like my UC Berkeley application, but I just build upon that. Like I'll add things to a job that I'll apply to like in a couple weeks or something like that. So once you get a good flow of how you wanted to write it, and you have a lot of people reading it, then you can just build upon that in the future. And if you don't want to go to college and you want to do something like a trade, that's really cool. That's where LMC and community college come into play. I know LMC has a really good auto mechanic program, and what else? Auto mechanic program. Oh, welding. They have a welding program that I wanted to do. So you could take a class and then work part-time, or you can shadow people. That's very popular nowadays since it's really competitive to get internships, especially in certain fields where you need to have like you need to have your bachelor's degree. It's weird, but there are some internships that require that. And so to move past that, you could usually do a shadow for a day at like a dentist office or public works, something like that.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Brianne, for joining us today. Haley, if you're okay with it, we can stop the Zoom early. But I want to thank you all for having your cameras on. That was really awesome. So thank you again.
Thank y'all so much for coming, and let's all thank Brianne for coming and taking time out to talk to us. It was so inspirational. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day, you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.